press this button to silence it?
Yeah, but it's not just press it, it's hold it.
Yes. Alright.
You try it.
Testing. How have you been?
Good, how you been?
Fantastic. Excited?
I am, you know. I just kind of, I don't know. People like getting nervous when I know it's supposed to be.
Hey, sweetie. The mic is hot. Okay. What do you think I'm going to say up here? Oh, excellent. Yeah. How well is it picking everything up? How well is it picking everything up? So just project, good to go. Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen? I didn't bring it.
You need a pen?
Oh, excellent. We're good. Thank you so much. Ooh, just I like it.
This mic is going to be like basically
A little in shadow. I wonder if you move like 6 inches that way more.
So it's a hot mic. You watch your length.
Ian, you're kind of in shadow. See the shadow right there?
Uh huh.
If you move over to the right there.
Goodbye, Tanya. I have to move over here now. No.
Does that matter?
She just wanted me to get out of the shadow. Oh goodness. Okay, I mean, I can move back. How bad is the shadow? All right. How about if I'm right here? How does it look? Oh yeah, we should be fine.
You start going over this far, we know there's something.
Right? Yeah. Clearly, I'm just pushing you out. Got it. Thank you very
This
much.
mic is not for us to worry about, right? We're using these guys' laps, right? Will it help?
Yeah, you guys are hooked up on the lapel. I don't know what this one is.
Is that for your Facebook, maybe?
Nope, that's for the Facebook.
That's for the Facebook. Yeah.
And we tested that one, so once the audience dies down, you should be able to hear everybody that's on. So let me know.
Okay. Left.
Yes, I know.
Everyone gets to hear what I'm saying. It's fine. Fine. Hey, this one's live.
center. We have this great space to work with. I'd also like to thank the members of the committee who made this possible. Obviously, we have Sue Hedke over here who's going to be co-moderating with me. We have Rose Thielen, who has done an amazing amount of work to help make sure this is happening. We have assistance from Michael Williamson, from Karen Inkman, who is going to be helping us do some of the timing up here and the timekeeping. And Wendy's doing the timekeeping, I'm going to get that right. And then Karen Inkman with some of the help there. So thank you for all the people that have helped make this possible in a very direct and powerful way. So, other couple things. I'm the chair of CD6. My name is Wayne Grimmer, and the key thing here for CD6 is we live in a pretty tough district, don't we? However, that does not mean it's impossible. We have had some pretty close races over the last few years, and I think that the quality of candidates that we have here is going to make that very interesting for Emmer again this year. So I'm very excited about the year that we have ahead. I'm not going to belabor too many things, but I do want to take a moment to do two announcements. So number one, on Saturday, February 29th, we have our 5th annual CD6 Unity Dinner. That dinner is going to be include former Governor Mark Dayton as our keynote speaker, and there are still tickets available. Heck, we will go ahead and do our best to squeeze you in, even if there's some challenges there. But it's going to be a very exciting event. That event is one where we recognize all of our volunteers and the people that do all this work and put on events like this and make things like this possible. So it's a very, very important event to us. Next up, I do want to point out, I do have our treasurer over here, Chuck Lawrence, and he does have some forms over there to be able to give you some receipts for any donations you might want to give to us this evening. Just because there is obviously cost to doing this. There is no charge for being here, and we're glad to have you here, but if you can spare anything to be able to give to that, Chuck will be glad to pay your receipt here and on the spot. So, that being said, I'd like to turn things over to my co-chair, Sue Hedke, and let her talk a little bit as well.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here tonight, and I'm representing Wright County Indivisible. Wright County Indivisible is part of a national indivisible group, and I don't know if you've noticed this grassroots movement that's been on the news. You've heard about it on MSNBC, and it started when? After the 2016 elections. There are thousands of indivisible groups, thousands across America. Every state has numerous groups of indivisible people, people like you, that are just fed up with some things, want to make a difference, and if you were like me, not having a clue, because I was never very political. Our goals with Indivisible are few. First of all, to resist the Trump
So here's how this is going to go. Let me kind of make sure I cover the bases here. So Sue and I are going to be moderating, to be driving the questions one after the other. And each of the candidates is going to have an opportunity to provide some responses. First off, though, I have an opening statement. Then we're going to do those questions. There's going to be about a dozen of them. We're going to have them displayed on the screen so you can follow along. And then each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each of those questions, outline their positions. If there is something where a particular candidate addresses the other candidate, then that candidate will have an opportunity to rebut or respond if that's needed. And then if time permits, we will also have a couple of sections where we do some really quick round-robin questions, kind of a yes-no, multiple choice, just to be able to hit a bunch of other questions and issues that we don't probably have enough time to really truly cover in just an hour and a half. So we also have timekeeping in the audience here. So we've got Wendy and Rose who are going to be keeping us on track. And as the candidates respond and they get to their time limits, Sue and I will gently remind them that time is up and we need to move on. So
We ask of you tonight to please hold your applause until the end. We want to get through as much as we can, and I know there are sometimes you're going to want to, but if you could wait, we appreciate that. Also, just to know that the event is being filmed, and at the end, I believe, Rosa, on the last slide that you've seen, it will be the address of where you can find it, and we will also send it out to you. And again, please be respectful, turn your phones off, and enjoy.
all right. So with that, I would just like, just before we have the candidates go and start things off with their opening statements, I'd like to point out this is being sponsored by CD6 and by Wright County Indivisible. And so thank you for your partnership in this. You guys have been fantastic. So, all right. We did go ahead and secretly decide ahead of time who was going to start. And so it's going to be Tanya. So go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. I had a really great plan. I was going to thank both of you and ask everybody to clap. So we'll have to hold that till the end. I want to thank Wayne. I want to thank Sue. I want to thank everybody who put this together tonight. This is why we're going to win, because everybody's out here and we all want the same thing. So I only have a couple minutes to kind of tell you about myself. And I want to hit the big elephant in the room just to start, okay? It's just 3 syllables. Za-rad-ka. Okay? I know it's challenging, and I always try to make a little joke about my name when I go out and speak because it has followed me throughout my life. But I want you to know that I'm fiercely proud of the Zaradka name. Zaradkas have been farmers in North Dakota for over 100 years. My father is a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, B-52 pilot. He served 3 tours in Vietnam. And my mother's a public school teacher for her entire life. So the Zaradka name stands for farming, military, and public school teacher. I was born in Grand Forks, North Dakota, Air Force Base, and I graduated from the University of North Dakota with a degree in broadcasting. By the time I graduated from college, I had lived in 6 different Air Force bases across the United States. I went to 8th grade in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I went to 9th grade in Seattle, Washington. And I went 10th through 12th in Salt Lake City, Utah, where I graduated from Layton High School. Go Lancers. When I was in high school, I was an athlete. I was state champion basketball player. I was #1 singles in tennis. I was voted the most valuable athlete in my high school. I like to win, and I'm a competitor. There's not one part of me that's in this race to lose. People say, you're not going to beat him this year. It might take you 2 times. You know what I say to that? If we can't beat Emmer in 2020, we're never going to beat him. I'm in it one time and one time only because I want to win. I think it's also important to share with you a little bit about how I got here tonight. In 1994, I competed for the title of Miss Minnesota. And I was enough and fortunate and hard enough and worked hard enough to win it. And the next year I started my own TV show called The Minnesota Experience. Some of you may remember it was on the air for 23 years. It was fun things to do in Minnesota. I was a trained spokesperson for over 25 different businesses in Minnesota to come out and get their message out on television. I also wanted everyone here to know that my show was a replacement for a child. All you women that have had children, you're my heroes. I never did that. My show was my baby. Well, my show in 2015 was taken to a corporate level. And in 2015, I started getting sexually harassed. And I put up with it for 2.5 years. And it was horrible. It was devastating. And then one day my harasser came to me and he said, "You cover up the felony embezzlement of this organization." And I looked at him and I said, "You can harass me, you can bully me, but I'm not going to go to jail for you." And I went to the Attorney General and I turned them all in. So I am a whistleblower. And you know what I did with that rage and that anger and that pain? I got mad. I got more than mad. I got involved. I turned around and I entered this arena of politics. And I am honored tonight to be running for the United States Congress.
Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see you all here. Looking through the crowd, I see so many familiar faces. People who were with me in 2018 when we ran and brought this district 9 points closer to victory than we have been. We closed the gap between the DFL and the GOP by 9 points, and I am so proud of what we accomplished. Because, again, looking through this crowd, I see people who walked in parades with me, folks who hosted house parties, folks that were there volunteering, door knocking, people that were involved. It is the people in this room right now that made that difference, and I want to thank each and every one of you because you truly are amazing people, and I don't mind taking this second for you to applaud for yourself because you deserve it. I'm running this year on the same issues that I ran in 2018 and the same issues that I will always run on until we solve these problems. We have to get the money out of politics because we know that there is corruption in Washington. And it is far beyond just the White House. And it is far beyond just a single political party, and we have to be honest about what is going on and about what it means to have so much money funneled into the system. We have to do something about climate change. We cannot rest. We cannot sit on our laurels and pretend like just endless profit is somehow going to fix this. We have known for so long about climate change and the ills that it is doing to our country, to the entire world, and yet we have done nothing. It is time to move. It is time to have bold action on that. And it is time for us to secure Medicare for all. Because I do believe that healthcare is a human right. And we cannot have a system that leaves people behind. And I believe anything that isn't a single-payer healthcare system is simply not going to do that. Now, I know that's audacious. And I know that me being here is audacious. It always has been from the beginning. For me to get out of the Air Force and to immediately decide to continue my service by running for federal office. But I believe that I have what it takes because I have been in the military, because I have had those experiences of seeing exactly what it is we do abroad. And I know that we do terrible things abroad and we do terrible things here, and we are all hungry for change. And I know that we are powerful enough together to make those changes. I'm very excited.
Thank you both for your opening statements. It's not helpful if I push the wrong button. All right. So the first question here is, nationally, there is a move to dismantle the Affordable Care Act and restructure healthcare in a way that dramatically reduces people's safety net. President Trump has stated that he intends to cut Social Security by the end of 2020. There's often a heated debate and solutions get complicated. The following questions may help to frame the issues. So, first question, healthcare, is it a right or a privilege? And if it is a right, how do we get there? And what problems or benefits do you see for older Americans? So that being said, I'm going to turn that over to Ian to go to the next step.
Excellent. Well, yes, healthcare most certainly is a right. And I'm going to be repeating myself for a little bit because the way that we actually move towards that, towards actually securing that right for all Americans, is by making sure that we secure Medicare for all. That's the system. We have to have a single-payer universal healthcare system because that's going to be the only system that truly makes sure that everybody is covered. Everything else seems like a habit to me. And I do not for a moment believe this idea that choice exists within the insurance companies that we choose, because most people are saddled with the insurance company that their job provides. And the reality is we become locked into jobs that sometimes we hate, and we don't feel like we can move to the different jobs. We don't feel like we have mobility. We actually have choice taken away from us whenever we have insurance companies that we have to rely on. Medicare for All makes sure that not only do rural areas get hospitals, which an area like CD6 is in desperate need of more hospitals because we are a healthcare desert. There are people who are moving out of CD6 because they don't have the healthcare options they need here. And one of the wonderful things about having a system like Medicare for All, having a system in which it's our taxes that are paying for our medical care, our health care, instead of deductibles and co-pays, especially for older Americans, because I hear it too often that people come to the end of their lives and the nest egg that they saved up, that they wanted to be able to provide to their children, gets eaten up. The biggest benefit that we will be able to give to older Americans is that there will be something to leave behind. It will not all be eaten up because of healthcare costs. And that is an absolutely devastating thing that's happening to people in this country.
All right. Thank you, Ian. Tanya?
So, of course, healthcare should be a right and not a privilege. When I lost my job, I lost my healthcare. I didn't have health insurance for 2 years. I'm a great skier. I couldn't go skiing. I couldn't walk to the mailbox because I might slip and fall. So, of course, it should be a right and it should be a privilege. I don't know what you did on New Year's Eve. Maybe you went out for dinner, went dancing, had some lobsters, whatever you celebrated with. You know what my husband and I did? We counted the minutes because at 12:01 we got our health insurance back. And that was our New Year's Eve because it is devastating to live without it. I think that if we want to win the 6th district, a district that's full of conservatives, a district where we need to have a tent that brings everybody into the tent, if we try to ram Medicare for All down their throats, they stop listening. The union members have fought hard to keep the insurance that they have. They should be able to keep it. I think we should build on the Affordable Care Act. I think we should start with a public option where people have a right to choose. If Bernie could get health care done, it would be amazing. I would have loved to have Medicare for All. I would have loved to have gone to the doctor, both my husband and I. But unless we flip the Senate, there isn't the votes for that. It's not going to get done. I'd like to win the lottery. I can't get that done either. So we got to start with something that makes people keep listening. We got to win the 6th. If we force Medicare for All down people's throats in the 6th, guess what's going to happen? We're going to have 2 more years of Tom Emmer. We have to start at a place where people get to make up their own minds. I would love to get to Medicare for All. I hope we get there. If I get to Congress and I have a chance to vote, I'm going to vote for it. But right now, I think we have to be the tent that welcomes everybody. So I disagree with the
All right. So in light of that, I'd like to give Ian an opportunity for a minute for rebuttal. If there's anything you'd like to respond with that.
Absolutely. I don't think that we can compromise on our own values. And I don't think that we should compromise before we even get to Washington. Of course, I am not going to sacrifice perfect or good enough for perfect. I sacrifice better for perfect. Which means, yes, if it's not possible for us to get Medicare for All quite yet, then I will vote for a public option. But the fact is, this is the system that we want. It is the system that most Americans want. Quite frankly, 50% of Republicans want Medicare for All. If we actually want to bring people in to the DFL, if we want them to vote for us, we have to give them something that is better than what the Republicans are offering, something better than what the ACA was. Medicare for All is that. And I have talked to many Republicans who like that idea because they're suffering the same as us under this horrible system.
All right. And then, Tanya, if you want another minute for rebuttal for that. John?
Well, it sounds to me like, you are compromising on your values. You're saying if that gets offered, then you'll switch your values. So to me, I think we just have to once again look at our own backyard, look at where we live, look at winning this election. Right now, we live in the 6th district. We live in Michelle Bachmann land. If we try to tell people, we're going to shove Medicare for all down your throats, they're going to stop listening, we're going to lose the opportunity to win this. I like the fact you say we'll vote for it eventually, but I think right now the most important thing we can do is bring everybody in, get everybody's vote. I have a lot of Republican friends too. I got some in the front row here. You know, they're here tonight to support me because women are going to come out and they're going to vote because they want the same thing we all want. We want our kids safe. We want our schools safe. We want good health care. We want good opportunities. But we got to listen. We got to listen rather than just hope.
All right, thank you both.
Time for a second question. Climate change has been called the existential crisis of our time. Nearly 78% of people believe in climate change, but Emmer is in lockstep with the Trump administration, which refers to fossil fuels as molecules of U.S. freedom. Emmer called the science climate porn on the House floor. He supports the rollback of Obama's Clean Power Plan, supports new fossil fuel infrastructure, Arctic drilling, and new mining operations near the boundary waters. Perhaps it is no coincidence that he has received over $76,000 from the fossil fuel industry. The same fossil fuel industry that 10 times more in U.S. taxpayer subsidies than education, according to the International Monetary Fund. Question: discuss your position and the priority you place on protecting the environment and addressing climate change. What needs to be done? What can be done to stop the undue influence that the fossil fuel industry has on Congress? And Tanya, would you begin, please?
The first thing as a marketing person I would do is I'd stop saying climate change, right? As Jack Nicholson said, in As Good as It Gets, that sounds like doodle salad in the park. This is a crisis. We need to brand this as a crisis. We have a hole in our roof that's melting our planet. Our kids won't have a planet if we don't take action right now. Whenever I've had the opportunity to come out and speak to so many of you, I talk about my main 3 things. I talk about education, talk about health care, I talk about an equal playing field and equal rights for everybody. And I put that all under the umbrella of taking care of our planet. But if we don't have a healthy, safe planet, it doesn't matter if we have good schools. It doesn't matter if we have healthy people. It doesn't matter if we have equal rights because we'll be at each other's throats to find a glass of water. Tom Emmer voted against the Clean Water Act. I keep thinking to myself, does he know something we don't know? Where's he going to get his water, right? So I think that if we take a step right now to make sure that our planet is protected, every one of us can do something. My husband and I, Paul, we live on Forest Lake. And we live right on the channel on one side and the lake on the other side. And it is the most beautiful place in the world. It's just a little 900 square foot A-frame cabin. It's just a little tiny house, but it's on the most beautiful piece of land you've ever seen. And we take great pride in being part of the Forest Lake Lake Association. We pay our dues. We make sure that we do whatever we can to watch what runoff goes into the lake. I am like the chem lawn lady. If I see the chem lawn truck, my neighbors know, right? Don't come in our neighborhood with toxic chemicals. We have a lot of clover in our yard because I won't let anybody spray anything with anything. So my answer to climate is it is the most important thing. We need to get back in the Paris Climate Agreement. We need to support the Green New Deal. We need to stop subsidizing fossil fuels. We subsidize the fossil fuel industry more than we do education. We got to get to zero emissions by 2050. We need wind, we need solar, we need hydro, we need geothermal, we need all of these technologies that can get us there. But the first thing we need is for each of us to put it at the top of our list.
Tanya's absolutely right that we need to reframe this. This is a climate crisis. And again, this is something that we should have been dealing with decades ago because we've known about this for decades. I feel like this is the meeting point between 2 of my top 3 issues. Climate change, of course, but also getting the money out of politics. Because there is a reason why the fossil fuel industry is so over-subsidized, why they have so many tax breaks and so many giveaways. It's because they bought them. And they definitely got their money's worth from buying our politicians. We have to prevent them from being able to continue to buy politicians. I have pledged not to take a single penny from any fossil fuel industry. I will never accept any money from the people who have destroyed our environment. We need a Green New Deal. We need the kind of infrastructure plan that comes with a Green New Deal to make sure that we can transition to a green energy grid as soon as humanly possible. Because if we can get rid of those subsidies, when we do get rid of those subsidies, it will not be economically viable to continue to use fossil fuels, not even natural gas. It only makes sense to start switching to things like solar and wind, which are more economically viable when you take away those subsidies. And quite frankly, the fossil fuel industry subsidies are the only ones in the energy sector that do not have a sunset. That was purchased. Now, I wish I could talk more because there's also issues of polymet or clean water. We have to protect ourselves because, quite frankly, all of these industries are coming in, doing colossal damage, and our super fund, our taxpayer dollars, has to pay for the cleanup every single time, and it's time for them to pay for it, not us.
All right. Next up, President Trump broke his promise to produce an infrastructure plan in his first 100 days. The American Society of Civil Engineers gave the nation a D+ grade for infrastructure, estimating that the economy will lose almost $4 trillion in GDP, with a resulting loss of 2.5 million jobs in 2025 if more than $1 trillion additional dollars is not added to the budget for infrastructure. Last month, House Democrats released a comprehensive plan that will cost $760 billion over 5 years. Republicans and Emmer opposed this plan, favoring instead President Trump's plan that costs almost twice as much, but relies mainly on state, local, and private dollars. So the question is, what is your position on infrastructure improvement? What is needed, and how should it be paid for?
Well, I think that we probably need to spend that $1 trillion, then, don't we? First off, I believe that we need rural broadband. We need to make sure that that is coming out to rural districts like CD6. We have to be able to offer something to the people who live here when we talk about our infrastructure plans. And quite frankly, if you're going to try to start a new business right now, you need access to the internet. It does not matter if you are in the city or if you are in a rural area, you need the internet, and we need to make sure that that's getting out. We need to repair our energy grid. Our energy grid is failing, it is incapable of storing energy, but there is technology that allows us to store energy long term. We can switch to renewables, things like wind and sun, and it doesn't matter that the wind isn't blowing all the time, and it doesn't matter that the sun isn't shining constantly, because we can actually build storage into our energy grid by actually putting forth the infrastructure spending that is absolutely required. Because in the end, if we don't spend that money, if we do not put that into the economy, we lose far more. And I will say this, there is no way that Twin Metals or Polymet could possibly offer the amount of jobs and economic stimulus with their sad, environmentally damaging jobs that they want to have doing copper and nickel mining in our boundary waters than we could have by actually revolutionizing our energy grid and putting in the proper money to make sure that it is the United States that is pushing out the green energy economy for the rest of the world. That's what we need to be working on. Now, you ask about how it's going to be paid for. Well, obviously, if we don't do it, then we will lose money in the long run. But I am more than comfortable saying it. We're going to tax the rich. That is how we're going to pay for these things that we need. Because far too long, Reaganomics has been the law of the land, and that has to stop. It must be reversed.
So some of you may know who Governor Gretchen Whitmer is from Michigan, and she made her campaign mantra, fix the damn roads, right? Fix the damn roads. Look at the roads around us. I was driving here tonight, hitting potholes, thinking, what is Emmer doing to fix our roads and our bridges? It's not doing anything. It's not getting matched matching federal funds to match the state funds to fix the roads. He's doing nothing. He's not helping. I think it's also important that we get broadband, like Ian said. It's very important. It helps small businesses. It helps our students. We need broadband. We have to work on our water infrastructure. Flint, Michigan is not the only place with water problems, right? We have to protect the runoff into our lakes and into our aquifers and into our streams. I think the most important thing we need to ask ourselves about infrastructure is, when will it fail? My goddaughter was the last car on the bridge in Minneapolis before it collapsed. So when I think about bridge collapses, it's real to me. We almost lost her. One car more, she wouldn't be with us today. So I take this seriously. Fixing the roads is important. You know, there's a quote here from Gretchen Whitmer, and she said, you know, fix the damn roads, because blown tires, broken windshields, dangerous car repairs, and they take away from rent, from groceries, and from childcare. Those are expenses. That trickles to all of us that we have to cover. So I think it's important that we hold Tom Emmer accountable and ask him, what are you doing to fix Highway 10? The traffic to get here tonight was unbelievable. So yes, we have to make infrastructure a priority. We have to get the funding. We have to get the matching funds. We have to fix the damn roads. We have to fix our water system and protect it. We have to get broadband. All those things are important. But the most important thing to me is to take it seriously. Infrastructure is a big deal, and it's being ignored, and Trump did break his promise.
The Washington Post states that in the midst of the nation's longest economic expansion, the separation between rich and poor is at a 50-year high. Question: why is our economy working for some but not others, especially for historically marginalized people? Tanya?
So, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like the American dream is under attack, right? The American dream means if you work hard, you play by the rules, you're going to achieve success. Well, the system is rigged, and it's rigged against the people that are suffering the most. Fast food workers have to work 40 hours a week, and after taxes, they take home $184. Could you live on $184 a week? People are working 2 and 3 jobs to make it in this economy because the economy is rigged against them. I think it starts, first of all, with a $15 minimum wage. Minimum wage needs to be raised immediately. One thing about helping the people of color. Last week, my husband and I went to St. Cloud, and we met with the Somali community. There's a block of 15,000 Somalis in St. Cloud. And I was on Somali radio, and listening to my new friend Ahmed try to pronounce my name was classic. But we had a great time. I got to know these people. I listened to these people. They took me on a tour and took me into their businesses and showed me around St. Cloud. And they told me what was hurting them. They're not being listened to. They can't get an affordable house. They can't get a good job. The only place they can get hired is at Jenny O. Their big dream is to have a strip mall where they can put all their businesses in one place. I went back into one of the rooms. They had 10 businesses in a room the size of half of this place. So what they said to me mattered, and I listened. And you know what they said? Every politician that's come and spoke with us, you know what they do? We get them elected, and then they leave town. We never hear from them again. They disappear. And I looked at him, and through the translator, I said, you know what? As your new congresswoman, and I put my hand on my heart, I said, you have my word. I will not disappear. So I think it's important that we listen, that we find solutions. We have laws that force people to give safe housing. We need to enforce those laws. So I think our economy needs to work for everybody. We need to fix this broken system, and I think it needs to start out by listening.
This question is very near and dear to my heart because, as many of you know, Denise and I are planning to have children soon. We are planning to start our family. And that means that my children will not be growing up with the same privileges that I have, because the one-drop rule still applies in America, and everyone will see my children as black. And they will not experience the privilege that I had. So I have to build an America that works for everyone. We have to build an economy that is not racist, and we have to break down the systems of oppression that have existed for far too long. I think that we need to start with criminal justice reform when it comes right down to it. It is a horrible shame that we over-police black neighborhoods and other minority neighborhoods, that we do not treat minorities the same way that we would treat white people. The police do not, our systems do not, our courts do not, our judges do not. There is implicit bias everywhere, and that has to be addressed through education. Money does have to be removed from politics, because one of the reasons why there is such a wide gap has to do with the fact that right now, for the first time in so long in our country, the richest 1% are paying less in taxes than the poorest Americans. How did we let that happen? We have to switch away from trickle-down economics that has been absolutely decimating us, that has been destroying our middle class, because this is not the America we want to be. We have to destroy an America that has oligarchs and become the America that is known for its amazing democracy and known for the American dream, for the ability of people to actually do better than their parents. I want to see that for my children, and I will fight for that.
Thank you both. All right, next up. For over 50 years, union protections and labor laws have been rolled back, and working Americans have been silenced at their jobs. The Protecting the Right to Organize Act, PRO Act, is a bill that will protect people's freedom to organize a union, hold fair elections, and immediately begin negotiating a contract. Under the PRO Act, employers would be banned from requiring employees from attending anti-union meetings and from misclassifying employees. So the question is, would you be willing to sign on as a PRO Act bill sponsor, and why or why not?
Absolutely. And because unions are so important. You know why we have 40-hour work weeks and a weekend? Unions. Do you know why we have an amazing nurses in our hospitals? Unions. Unions do so much for us, and it is absolutely devastating that people who simply want to talk to their coworkers about trying to get a little bit of justice from the corporations that they work for have to live in fear of reprisal or being fired. That is unacceptable, and we cannot put people through that because we deserve the right to unionize. I will always fight against right-to-work laws because they're absolutely absurd and they are anti-American because unions are American. Now, I know that I don't have all the answers when it comes to unions. I've never been a union employee. I instead decided to go the military route. But I know that I have a wide array of amazing people, folks who are in this room, folks all over CD6 who know exactly what we need to do. And I am going to work with them because that's exactly what we have to do.
So the PRO Act just passed in the House, and Tom Emmer voted against it, right? He thinks that he has the 6th district so wrapped up he doesn't need union members to win it. I met yesterday with the Teamsters in St. Paul and I screamed with them. I spoke to them and I learned a lot. These people are good people. They are victims of wage theft. I went to a wage theft forum and learned a great deal about that as well. Wage theft is when a woman gets paid less than a man, right? Good union employees show up and they do their jobs and their boss steals their money. Good union members show up, they do their jobs, and a van pulls up in the middle of the night and those workers get paid on the side. Keith Ellison's a wonderful speaker. If you ever get the chance to listen to him speak, go do it. He said right to everyone in that room, if you see it, report it. They have a brand new law in Minnesota, the wage theft law. And you can go right now, and if you see wage theft, you can report it, and Keith Ellison and his team will come out and put those people in jail. So I support that law. I would definitely support the PRO Act if it ever gets into the Senate, if they support it and move it on. I think also it's very important to bring this back to my story a little bit. When I was at my job, which I thought was my dream job, I was making all the money. I was making all the sales. I was winning all the awards. And my abuser kept giving the boys the raise, kept giving the men the raise. They were getting 15% raises and I was getting nothing. So this is personal to me. I do believe that we have to make it a fair playing field for everybody. We have to support our unions. We have to find bad employers and report them. And I have a little quote I'd like to share with you from Keith. He said, you know, the promise of America is if you work hard and play by the rules, you'll get ahead. But you can't get ahead if your boss is stealing your money. Wage theft is theft, pure and simple. And as a woman who lived through this, I'm going to do everything in my power to fight to make sure that nobody else ever has to.
All right, we are at a point in the debate where we had entertained doing the round robin questions. And if we're at about the 7:15 mark, and since we're just a little bit behind time, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So, this is basically a quick answer and response. I'm going to read off a question. I'll cue each of you, and you can go ahead and do your quick answer and response. So, first off, in the category of climate change and the environment, Green New Deal. So, Ian?
I support the Green New Deal.
Tanya?
As well, yes, so do I.
All right. Rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement. Tanya?
Absolutely.
Ian?
Most certainly.
All right. Restore the Obama-era Clean Power Plan. Ian?
We need to go faster than what that plan indicated. It was 30% reduction in fossil fuel and CO2 emissions by 2030. We need to be working better than that.
Tanya?
I agree, we should get to no emissions by 2050.
In the economy, repealing the Trump tax cuts for the wealthy. Tanya?
How fast can we do it? I vote yes.
Yes, and start reversing a lot of trickle-down economics.
Looking at democracy, repealing Citizens United.
Absolutely.
Most certainly.
Automatic voter registration,
Yes, please.
Yes.
legalize marijuana.
I think if we can go out and buy booze, we should be able to go out and buy marijuana. Sorry, I do. It helps people.
Legalize it.
Okay, we'll go on to our next question. There have been many assaults on our democracy, including Citizens United, gerrymandering, voter purging, voter ID, etc. Question: what would you identify as your priority or priorities to strengthen or restore our democracy?
So I personally think our democracy needs a new leader, right? I mean, that would be a good start. We need a new leader. And Citizens United, I just screened with them as well, and maybe some of you aren't familiar with that is, but it's a constitutional amendment that they are trying to get dirty money, corporate money, PAC money out of elections. When I started running for Congress, I had no idea what raising money was about to run for Congress, right? You cannot run for office if you can't raise money. That's the criteria moving forward on everything. That's why our democracy is in trouble. Our democracy is in trouble because Ian's right, it's for sale. We need to make sure that the people that want to run for office, I'm not wealthy, I don't have a lot of money. There are people that have less money than me that can't run because they don't have the funds. Our democracy is in trouble right now. The people that were in the Senate last week, the whistleblower, the people that stood up, people who wore a Purple Heart, career public servants stood up for our country and fought for our democracy, and our leader turned around and called them scum. I know what that feels like. So our democracy is under attack. I never thought America could be under attack for our democracy. I knew our new leader was going to be bad. Who thought it was going to be this bad, right? We're at a crisis right now where our democracy is on the line, and we have to come together and fight back. I would like to call for some protests. I'd like to see some people out protesting. Go up on the streets and get involved and hold up some signs and really, truly try to save America. Our country and our democracy is in trouble. And if we sit back and wait, we're going to wake up just like other countries across the world who woke up and thought, we can never have a dictator. Our country's not in trouble. We'll be fine. Well, our country is in trouble. And so as your new congresswoman, I will fight as hard as I can to preserve the greatest democracy on this planet, the United States of America. Thank you.
I thoroughly believe that Donald Trump is just a symptom of a much greater problem that we have in our country. And that problem has to do with the money that we allow to flow into Washington, that we allow to flow in every corner of our democracy. There's a reason why I don't accept corporate PAC money. Because we have to have politicians that do not go into Washington pre-corrupted by that money. Now, we have to get that money out of politics. I think that we have to have publicly funded elections if we are going to be honest about really trying to change this system in a way in which there is no longer corruption, in which the richest Americans aren't able to put their thumb on the scale. But when it comes to elections, it's more than just that money that's been stealing our rights away, our voices away. Here in Minnesota, we are so lucky to have someone like Steve Simon as our Secretary of State. We have the gold standard of voting here in America. We have the most amount of early voting. We have same-day registration. We are absolutely incredible, and it's time that we start bringing our values in voting, because we understand how to make it happen and how to make it just for everybody, and start bringing that to everyone in the country. Because I am seeing far too many people's votes being stolen, and there are far too many amazing politicians who would be in office right now making great changes. But they lost because votes were stolen from them, and we do nothing. Democracy is under attack, and it is far more than the head. We have to fix a lot of problems.
Next up, Me Too has made the public more aware of the problem of violence against women. 25% of U.S. women, or 10 million per year, will be victims of severe domestic violence, sexual violence, stalking, and or harassment. To address the issue, the Violence Against Women Act, the AWA, passed in '94 with widespread bipartisan support. However, in 2019, Emmer voted not to reauthorize VAWA because the NRA is against a provision to take guns away from convicted abusers, even though an abuser with a gun increases the risk of a homicide by 500%. Emmer also opposes the Violence Against Women Act provisions that include services to immigrant, refugee, same-sex, and transgender victims, and those that fund Native justice initiatives, where violence is 7 times the national norm. The House's Democratic majority did finally reauthorize Violence Against Women Act, but is now being held up by the Senate Republicans. So the question is, which policies do you support to prevent and end the epidemic of violence against women?
First off, this is not political. It is absolutely absurd that Tom Emmer and the Republicans are trying to push this. The NRA is the only thing that's making this political. We have to protect women. We have to make sure that we are passing these laws. And it's more than just passing these laws and making sure that we are taking firearms away from people who are dangerous, that cannot pass background checks. I think that we also have to do things like making sure that we actually put into the Constitution the ERA, because we have to make sure that men and women are equal in this country. Virginia became the 38th state to ratify. That means it should be part of our Constitution. And if it weren't for a few ridiculous rules and stipulations that were put into place, we would have it right now. If there weren't so many people fighting tooth and nail to make sure that it does not become part of our Constitution, we would have it right now. We also need to make sure that we are protecting women's right to choose. We have to fight against anti-choice legislation that keeps appearing all over our country, and we absolutely have to have more funding directly to stop human trafficking, because that is one of the worst things that is happening in our nation right now. And personally, I am so deeply disturbed that our state right now only has about 12 full-time officers devoted to stopping human trafficking, but we have well over 1,000 devoted to the war on drugs. I think we have our priorities all mixed up. We have to fix that.
Thank you, Tanya.
So as you can imagine, the Violence Against Women's Act is pretty personal to me. Every woman in this audience, I would bet, has been sexually harassed, right? Or knows somebody who's been sexually harassed. Look at the heads nodding. This happens every time I say this. Every woman in this room has been sexually harassed or knows someone who's been sexually harassed. You know, when I was a young woman, I survived domestic violence. He beat me so bad they had to rip the carpet up because of how much blood I lost. I'm lucky to be alive. If he'd had a gun, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So this is very personal to me. I went and watched Emmer stand up and lie and say he voted to protect women. Well, he did the exact opposite. This is something that every one of us, the good men in this room, I want to thank you. Because sometimes we sound like we're men bashing. We're not men bashing. We're men bashing the bad men. There are good men in this audience who fight for their sisters and their mothers and their daughters. And you guys want to protect us, and we love you for that. And we thank you for that. But there are some, the ones that I had to deal with in my job, that are misogynists. And they don't like a strong, powerful woman. They don't like a successful woman. They got to hurt that woman. It's no fun to be the bully anymore and pick on the weakest kid in the room. You got to pick on the strongest kid in the room. In my case, that was me, the strongest woman in the room. And that made me more mad. The better I did, the meaner he got. So when you talk about the Violence Against Women's Act, it's personal to me. It's one of the reasons I got into this. It's one of the reasons I decided to stand up and fight back. You know, they told me when I tried to settle my case and when I tried to get justice for my case, they said, your case wasn't that bad. You weren't raped. You need to be raped and need to have a couple of witnesses in this state in order for your case to rise to the level of it being really bad. Well, what they did to me was as bad. And it was devastating. So I thank Ian. I thank Ian for seeing that women need to be protected, because we do need to be protected. And I thank all the good men in this room who do it every day. I thank the good men in this room who tell their sons how to treat a girl. Stop it when it's here. Don't let it get to here. So as your Congresswoman, I will be a fierce champion for women. I'll be a fierce champion for minorities. I'll be a fierce champion for anybody who suffered the injustice. And hopefully, we'll stop this. Like Ian said, we need to stop this. It's time.
Every day, 310 people are shot in the United States. Every day, 100 people are killed by guns. In addition to homicides, there is an epidemic of suicide by guns. The typical suicide victim is a middle-aged man living in a rural area. In 2017, white males accounted for 78% of suicides. Overwhelmingly, they used a gun. Tom Emmer has an A+ rating from the NRA. Emmer voted against the H.R. 112 enhanced background checks of 2019. He has not supported red flag legislation, and he introduced a bill that would exempt any state from federal rules regulating concealed carry laws. Question: what legislation or initiatives would you introduce or support as a House representative for Minnesota to reduce gun violence in our state and our country?
Tom Emmer finally got an A+, right? He finally got an A+. Well, first of all, I've been a gun owner for 20 years, okay? I have a little Beretta Tomcat. If we're going to win the 6th district, we have to let people who are gun owners know that we are protecting their Second Amendment rights. Once again, we need to build that tent that brings everybody in. Having said that, there are some common sense things we can do. Thoughts and prayers, not cutting it, right? Thoughts and prayers, not going to get us there. I spoke at a Senate district meeting a couple months ago, and I see you in the back. I brought up AR-15 should be taken off the street. They shouldn't be allowed. We should get rid of them. They're awful. They shouldn't be part of society. Smart lady in the back stood up and said, if you say that to my husband, he's going to slam the door in your face. We live in the 6th district. We have an AR-15. And I said, well, ma'am, what would you prefer? What would you prefer? She said, you know, when I go to the drugstore, I have to swipe my ID to buy Claritin. She goes, I can go buy as many bullets as I want. What if some kind of bullet control? Right? We can find solutions. We can limit high-capacity magazines. We can make gun safety laws. If you don't lock that gun up and somebody gets hurt, it's on you. There are things we can do. How many people in this room think that preschoolers shouldn't have a gun? Right? So we can agree. We need common sense gun safety laws. I think one of the most important things we have to do is focus on not alienating anybody. And there are many gun owners in the 6th District. If we want to win, we have to reach out to those people, and we have to let them know that they're welcome, and that we aren't trying to come and take your guns away. And I am a gun owner, but I want common sense, keep our kids safe, make sure they come home from school. My husband works at Forest Lake High School. The other day he was in a lockdown. Calls me, he's in a lockdown. We're teaching our kids to zigzag so they don't get shot, how to throw books. As your congresswoman, I'm going to try to do something about that.
It is absolutely true that there is such thing as common sense gun reform, and it's universal background checks as a #1 priority. Over 90% of Americans want background checks, universal background checks. 90%, well over 90%, that means that Democrats and Republicans are agreeing on something. That means non-gun owners and gun owners are agreeing on something here. Why don't we have it? It is absolutely absurd that the money and influence of the NRA is influencing our politicians this way. We need something. Universal background checks is one thing that we can do, but we also need to do things like repealing the Dickey Amendment, which is essentially taking away the funding from the CDC to study gun violence. Now we have to, year by year, approve whether or not the CDC can have any funding, can use any of its funding to research gun violence. They should always have that ability, because it's that information that we get from our institutions that allows us to make better decisions, allows us to find out why these things are happening. And I definitely agree with red flag laws, because every single one is set up in such a way that if there is a mistake and if anyone had their firearms taken away, they can appeal, and they can and will get their firearms back if they are safe, if it was found out that that was done in error. So we are obviously respecting gun owners whenever we decide to pass legislation that so many gun owners already approve of and are, quite frankly, demanding from us. That's where we have to start, and we can't think that we're done just because we've done that. There's a lot we can do, because this is a crisis in our country, and we're the only country that's really facing this. We have to figure out what we're doing.
There are more than 2,000 children being held in custody without their parents at the southern border daily. Migrant adults and children are facing overcrowded facilities. Donald Trump took office. 24 migrants have died in custody with the U.S. Border Patrol, including 6 children. I think that meant to say since Donald Trump took office. There is a backlog of 850,000 asylum cases waiting for a court, and fewer than 450 judges to handle them. Roughly 11 million undocumented immigrants are living under fear of deportation. 3.6 million were brought to the United States as children. As of last November, more than 3 million people were waiting for family-based visas, and more are in line for employment-based visas. Trump's administration has cut the number of refugees the United States admits by 60%, even as a global refugee crisis rages on. In public statements, Tom Emmer has denied that there is a problem. So, the question is, if you think this is a problem, what is the cause and the solution?
It is most certainly a problem. I was at one of Tom Emmer's town halls not long ago, and he said that it's not a problem because you're lying. It's not cages that those children are in. They're pens, and so it's fine. And I know that that's funny, but it's also deeply disturbing that there are people that believe that think that that is acceptable. So what is the cause? Well, it's the Trump administration. But it's also a system of fear and racism that has been stoked by right-wing extremists in our country to try to pretend that it is refugees That it is immigrants that are causing the problems in our country? No. These are oftentimes the people with the least amount of power, and yet we always punch down and we can't see the people above us, owning our lives, and trying to make us fight amongst each other, even though we should all be unified because we are neighbors and we all have the same problems. Quite frankly, poor white Americans are facing some of the same issues that refugees and immigrants are facing. I also believe that it is a horrible, horrible problem that we have ICE coming in and destroying our communities, ripping families apart when they think that they are safe. We are seeing this right here. The Sherburne detention facility has an incredible amount of ICE detainees there, and they are making bank by keeping people against their will in this way. The crime that they're committing is a misdemeanor. We should all remember that. And I will say this, and I am not afraid to say it. I think we should abolish ICE because that institution, quite frankly, un-American.
Well, actually, we were at the same town hall that evening, and Tom Emmer's exact words were that they weren't in cages, it was just indoor fencing, right? The man is out of touch with what's going on in the world. One of the reasons I'm sitting here tonight is because of this vile, disgusting act of removing children from their parents' arms. It's one of the things that got me up off the couch and made me go to that town hall to see what was going on. How could this be possible? I told one of my good friends that this was, and she said, well, no, that's not true. And I said, well, of course it's true. And I went and listened to him talk, and I listened to him deflect and say that's not really a cage, that's indoor fencing. It's summer camps, right? So this disgrace is one of the reasons that I got mad. It's one of the reasons I got involved. It's one of the reasons that I think if we don't start treating people as if they are human beings, we need a path to citizenship for the DACA kids, right? We need to get these people that were brought here as children, we need to get them a path to citizenship. They gave us their information, and we told them, we won't use that against you, right? Come on in, come in, and we'll help you. And what have we done now? Now they don't know if they can keep their businesses going. They don't know if they can go back to school. They live in fear every single day. Every single day that knock on their door, they don't know if they're going to take away their mom and their dad, and they're going to come home from school and there's no parents there. I think it's important that we invest in our judiciary. There are not enough judges right now to hear the cases of the people that need to be heard. Quick story, Emmer stood up at that town hall and he told a little girl, she said to him, why are you demonizing people coming across the border seeking asylum? They're not criminals. Should your children be taken away because you've broken the law? And you know what Emmer did? He turned red. He berated a little girl. He humiliated her. He couldn't handle that question. That's what we're dealing with. Everybody in this room is an immigrant, unless you're a Native American Indian. They make our society better. They make our communities better. And as your new Congresswoman, I will fight for minorities. I will fight for the people that need a path to citizenship. And I will do everything I can to make sure that that knock on the door isn't terrifying to the people that need our help. Thank you.
Obviously, we couldn't cover all the issues of importance facing Congressional District 6 and this country. Are there any other issues you would like to address this evening?
Me? Yes, actually I would. I went to a meeting with Sean and Lanny invited me to last Monday in Buffalo, and it was concerning the census. And for those of you who maybe don't know a lot about the census, it was very educational. I learned a great deal about how important this upcoming census is. We could lose a district in Minnesota. We could lose one of our seats in Minnesota if we can't get more people registered. The way to get them registered, there's a couple categories of people that are not being shown on the report that we need to have in order for that to meet that criteria. One of them is little kids. If you know somebody who's 4 years and under, make sure they're registered with the census. If you know somebody who's a renter, go make sure they're filling it out. If you know somebody that can't speak the language properly, has trouble, go help them. We could lose our district. You know what we need to do? When the census speech giver was done, I went out and talked to him in the parking lot for a while. And I walked up to him and I said, so what you're telling me is that we can get 30,000 more people registered in the state of Minnesota that didn't register in 2010. We won't lose our seat. We won't be gerrymandered, right? And he said, well, don't tell anybody, Tanya, right? I'm telling you guys. He said, we only need 20,000. So that means if we can get 20,000 more people registered in the census, we can save our representation. We can have the people that need to be counted be counted. They put together a firewall now so that their data isn't shared with the government. I think it's also important tonight that we talk about equality. Equality is so important. We need to be kinder to each other. We need to treat each other with respect. We need to be each other's advocates. Go up when this is over tonight. I would invite each one of you to introduce yourself to the person next to you and say hello. You know, that's how we're going to be Tom Emmers, that we're going to come together. We're going to fight for each other. And I just am very honored to be here this evening. I am so honored to be able to speak to so many of you, and I'm asking for your support. You can go to tanyaforcongress.com, and if you can make a donation, I have lots of needs, lots of things I'd like to spend the money on. I could use a driver. I could use a lot of different things, and again, I'm just saying thank you for the opportunity.
There are an assortment of issues that I would like to bring up, that I would like to address. Things like we weren't able to talk about the military-industrial complex and the sheer amount of money that it's costing us. We weren't able to talk that much about criminal justice reform and our incredibly high recidivism rate and the crisis of private prisons. But I actually want to talk about something that's actionable for everyone here tonight, and that is tribal sovereignty. Right now in the DFL, precinct caucuses are coming up. That's on the 25th. That's Tuesday. And just a show of hands, who's planning to go? Woo! I'd love to see that. That's fantastic. Now, there is a resolution that is being pushed that you can find on my Facebook page right now. That's Ian Todd for Congress. Just get on Facebook, take a look at it. It's a filled resolution form that is essentially just saying that we want to make sure that we are pushing for tribal sovereignty, that the DFL on its action agenda says that we promote the sovereignty of our tribes right here in Minnesota. And all you really need to do is go there, print that off, and bring that to your precinct caucus, and please convince your neighbors that this is a worthy cause, because even if these issues aren't something that you think about regularly, it doesn't hurt to be an ally. And doing nothing for our community, that has dire consequences, because they are suffering. There are problems that we are seeing. Their right to police themselves has been taken from them before. They need more funding in things like public transit. They need more funding in things like substance abuse programs. We have to help our community members, and I think that that is truly an amazing place for us to start. I think that this can become a movement throughout Minnesota. We need to get that onto our action agenda.
All right. The question of electability looms large in CD6, just as it does on the national stage. So, question is, what is your plan for winning this very red, very gerrymandered district? And beyond that, what will make you effective? Ian?
When we ran in 2018, we closed the gap between the DFL and the GOP by 9 points, and I could not be more proud of that. But that was all of us. That was an incredible collective effort, and we began to change the narrative about CD6. I need everyone to keep in mind what CD6 is. It is a group of people who have very interesting ideas. We have incredible independent thinkers here. It's not that we just have a solid block of Republicans and a solid block of people in the DFL. We have people all the way in between. And here in CD6, even though Minnesota has fantastic voter turnout, we don't. What we have to do is engage the young people. What we have to do is engage those independent voters because we can with the policies that we hold near and dear to ourselves. We can't We can't sacrifice our values. And whenever we run strong on progressive values, even here in rural areas, we find support from people that you wouldn't expect it from. I have had so many people who are Republican voters, folks who voted for Trump and have a little bit of buyer's remorse, who are behind me now. Because I was willing to have those conversations, and I was willing to bring up the issues that they needed to hear from a Democrat. Things like, I understand that there is corruption, and I understand that it's not just in the Republican Party. I understand that it is widespread, that it is everywhere. I understand that the healthcare system that we have right now is broken, that the ACA did not help as much as it needed to, and instead we need a single-payer system. There's a reason why 50% of Republicans also support Medicare for all. When we run on strong progressive values, we convince a lot of people that you might not expect to come around to us. And that is exactly why I will be effective. Because I can walk up to these doors and I can say, I am a veteran of the Air Force, I served my country, and I am not done serving you.
Every time I see Ian and his wife Denise, I always thank you for your service because it's a big deal. You guys are both amazing, and we're really, happy that you've done that for our country. Having said that, if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's the very definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. This is the year that more women have run for office than ever in history. Women want a woman. It's hard for me to say that because he can't help that he's a man, right? He can't help it. But I've been talking to women, and I've been talking to men, and I've been talking to Republicans, and I've got a lot of Republican friends, and they all say the same thing. We were disillusioned. We thought we were voting for something, we ended up getting something else. We want somebody that listens to us. We don't want somebody that's putting some agenda down our throats that we're not interested in, that we don't want to hear. We want someone that says, it's okay. We don't have to be blue versus red. I have a friend of mine who cuts my hair. I was talking to her one day, and she is as Republican as they can be, right? And after an hour and a half, she looked at me and said, you know what? I have voted Republican my entire life, because I could vote for a Democrat once. And I said, that's all I'm asking for. So my thoughts are this. I am a trained media spokesperson. I have been hired by 25 different Minnesota companies to get on camera and to get that message out. They paid me money to get their message out, to be their spokesperson. That's what we need. We need a trained media spokesperson who can get up. I can learn what you want me to know. I can deliver that message. I'm putting out a commercial every week. I put out a mailer to thousands of you. I make TV commercials. I build websites. I make literature. That gives us an advantage. That means we can get more done with less resources. 58% of the people that voted in Iowa were women. If 58% of the women in CD6 vote, it's game over for Tom Emmer.
Because there was a little bit of back and forth there, I'd like to give you an opportunity to respond for a minute.
It is my belief that what we have to run on is our policies. What are we actually going to do for the people of CD6? What are we going to do for the people of America? And I am very strong in stating exactly what that is. My priority agenda is getting money out of politics, doing something about climate change, and securing Medicare for all. And these are incredibly popular ideas throughout the country and throughout CD6 itself. Now, this is a presidential year, which means that we are going to be so much stronger as Democrats than we were in 2018, which means if we were able to close the gap when some of our congressional districts went from blue to red, we are going to be able to win in a landslide if we put in that effort. What we have to do is make sure that we are getting out and talking to people directly, not just through media buys. We actually have to communicate with everyone directly, through door knocks, through phone banks, through community events.
And then Tommy?
I don't know about.
No.
Sorry, I missed that. Again, it's just, you can't door knock the six. right? It's the size of Canada, I keep liking to say. We need new ideas. We need digital marketing. We need things to pop up on your phone, an electronic door knock, right? If I, when on the day of the endorsement, if I am blessed enough to be your chosen candidate, then I hope that everyone will get out there and door knock, but we have to think outside the box. We have to do the things that are unconventional. I'm starting a new TV show, and it's called District 6. And it sounds a little Hunger Games, right? But it's about the things going on in the 6th. I just interviewed Paul Wellstone's son, Dave Wellstone, to talk about the opioid epidemic. He's a fantastic human being. I'm going to do 5-minute interviews with people that, a lady named Joan. She's got chronic pain. She wants cannabis legalized. We're going to talk about the issues in the 6th, and we're going to get them on every cable station in the 6th district. We're going to get them on the websites. We're going to get them on Facebook, social media. We're going to put them on Twitter. We're going to do the things that our dear leader did to win, right? He took advantage of those things. We have to think outside the box. I actually had a friend of me say to me the other day, it's impossible for you to think inside the box, isn't it? And it is. So we got to think differently, and we just can't keep doing the same thing we've always done. We're going to lose. We're going to have 2 more years of Emmer and 4 more years of our dear leader.
So the final question tonight is the socialist question. Those who support a progressive agenda are often called socialists by those who oppose them. You might as well be ready for it. Question, what will your response be to the socialist label? Tanya?
I guess first of all, I would say stop calling me that, right? Socialism is a tricky subject, right? If you think about it, every one of us got here tonight on a road. Guess who pays for that? That is socialism, right? If your house is on fire, you're going to want the fire truck guy to come and put it out, right? That's socialism. Schools, all of it. We all put money in the pool so it covers things. I feel like somebody's marketing the word socialist to make it sound like something other than the fact that we need each other. We need each other to make sure the roads work for everybody, that we have schools. I wrote down a few of the things that are considered, roads, bridges, public libraries, beaches, disability insurance, farm subsidies, streetlights, public hospitals, court systems, prisons, and it goes on and on and on. It's impossible for us to live without each other. So I would first of all say we need to stop thinking that socialism is something other than what I'd like to think it is, and that's that all of us rely on each other and we contribute what we can where we can.
Ever since Tom Emmer became the chair of the NRCC, he has been on a campaign of attacking everybody the same manner that Trump attacks people. He calls people Little Max Rose, fake nurse Lauren Underwood, absolutely absurd nicknames in order to try to get a little bit more money from his donors. And I think that that is so sad and absolutely pathetic. But the number one insult that he has is to call literally everyone a socialist. He is called Adam Schiff, a socialist clown. That is insanity. Look, if Adam Schiff is a socialist, yeah, I'm a socialist then. And I'm not going to be afraid of that label. Because here's the thing. What we are asking for is not the economy of Venezuela. It is not the economy of North Korea. It is not the economy of failed systems. What we are asking for is some of the systems that we see in Europe that are working for people. Every developed nation has a universal healthcare system except for us. And if that's socialism, then we should lean into it. We have police, we have firemen, we have our roads. And here's the thing. Our plans coming down from Trump right now want to turn our public road systems, every single interstate highway system, into toll roads. Those are regressive taxes. That is absurd. They want to give them to private corporations so that they can make money off of them. What do you think they want to do to firemen? What do you think they want to do to the police? Do we want to go back to the Pinkertons? Do we want to have a fire insurance just to make sure that the firemen come to our house and put out the fire? Social Security is the most popular program in the United States. Social Security, that's That's socialist. We should not be afraid of the social programs that make our country great, the things that help us all get by because we rely on one another. That's what socialism means to me.
All right, we have gone through our full list of questions. We did have a little bit of a round robin here, but since we are running a little late, we're going to cut those short, and we're going to close things out with your guys' closing statements. So, I think we started with Tanya first, so we'll start with Ian first on this one, and then end with Tanya.
And I want to thank you all for coming out here, because what you're doing tonight is engaging with your democracy. And I am seeing an incredibly packed room of very passionate Democrats here in CD6. And I know that not all of you might consider yourself that, because a lot of you feel that you're much more independent. And those independent-minded people know that we need things like a single-payer healthcare system, that we need to do something about climate change, because that's what it's about. I am so proud that I got to run in 2018. Being able to do that, being able to secure points for the DFL, that was honestly one of the most amazing things I have ever done in my life, and keep in mind that is coming from a veteran. It's been amazing to serve you, and I am ready to continue to serve you, because what we have to do is form coalitions together, to work together to make sure that we can make these changes. We have to get the young people out to vote. I think that a millennial like me, I'm going to be able to do that. I'm going to reach people who have a lot of concerns about the direction that our country is going in. What they want to hear right now is bold action. They want to hear about what we can do. They don't want to hear about what we can't do. And that is what my campaign has always been about. It is about being bold. It is about being audacious. It is about believing that we can work together to achieve the things that we all need. Thank you so much for being part of my campaign in 2018, and thank you for everyone who has pledged support for 2020. We are absolutely going to be able to get Tom Emmer out of office this year, but we have to work for it.
So I want to thank everyone for being here as well. I've never, ever been in politics in my life. I've never run for office in my life. This is my first debate in my entire life. And I have to tell you, it's exhilarating. I am learning something every single day about how politics work. I like to make a little joke that I've been in politics for a whopping 15 minutes, right? But I've been out in the community. I've been going to Senate district meetings. I've been talking to the minority populations. I've been giving speeches. I've been learning important and listening to people and what we need. People keep saying, well, you're not going to win. You can't win the 6. You can't flip the 6. Are you sick of hearing that? I'm sick of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing it. You know how we win the 6? We win the 6 by, again, inviting everybody into the tent. Getting those Republican women that everybody thinks we can't get to come and vote for us, to be with us, to feel included, to get women, to get people out to vote that would normally maybe stay home. You know, we had a saying in pageants, and now people make fun of it, right? All pageant winners want is world peace. Would you guys like world peace? No? I know I would. We also had a pageant hierarchy where we wanted someone to win Miss Golden Valley and go on to be Miss Minnesota and then go win Miss America, right? Well, we also want somebody who can win in the 6 and then go win in Washington. We want somebody that nationals. We want to send somebody who's a trained spokesperson, someone like me who can go on Rachel Maddow tonight and talk to Rachel like a sister, somebody that can go on Stephen Colbert, somebody that can stand up in the House of Representatives and give a hell of a speech. That's what I can do. I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. Like I said, I've been at this for 15 minutes, 3 months. But when I meet you and I hear you and I listen to you, I'm the one that can stand up here. It's timing. It's timing. Women right now are on fire. They're angry. They're upset. My story resonates. I am a whistleblower. They told me to keep my mouth. I went and knocked on the door of the Attorney General and turned them all in. And 2 days later, I was blocked out of the TV station. So I won't be corrupted. I won't keep my mouth shut. I'm not someone that's going to be pushed around. I'm not some beauty pageant winner. Keep hearing it, oh, you're a beauty pageant winner. Well, yeah, it was hard. I worked hard and I'm proud of it. So I need your vote. I need your money. Tonight, when your head hits the pillow and you've gone to TawnyForCongress.com and made a donation, you're going to sleep so much better. You're going to sleep so much better. I want to thank my husband in the back. He's here filming tonight for LATV 10. This will be on the air tomorrow. It'll be available on websites all over. We're going to get it to every cable station so you'll be able to watch it. I want to thank my campaign chair, the one and only Betsy O'Barry. You guys know Betsy. So happy to have her. I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. And most of all, I'm asking for you to come caucus for me next week. I'm asking for your help. I'm trying to build a team. I'm asking for your prayers. Everywhere I go, I bring faith with me. God brought me here. Think about it. Every person in this room has their own fingerprints. Every person in this room has their own DNA. This is not some random accident. Our decisions and our actions matter. So let's get rid of Tom Emmer. Let's get rid of him in 9 months. Let's come together and put in a strong, tough, democratic woman like myself, like Amy Klobuchar, who won this district. So I'm asking for your support, I'm asking for your money, and I'm asking for your prayers. Thank you.
All right, thank you both very much for a fantastic debate. So just a couple of notes of housekeeping here. So we do have this room for a bit. I am proposing that we find a place to go and crash after this for those of you who are inclined to imbibe in something afterwards. Also, once again, we have the Unity Dinner coming up on the 29th of February. We will be having a future debate again. We have not determined the location. We will change up the format. There will probably be audience participation. Go to cd6dfl.com for new events and things like that on that. Go to TD6DFL on Facebook. And of course, we are also even on Instagram. Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all so much.